fragmented way. You can still experience physical reality. But you don't have to experience it to the degree of segregation and fragmentation and separation and disconnection that you have experienced for thousands of years on your planet. You are free to be free at this time. Free to be more of who you really are. Now, when we talk about the idea of disconnection, pay attention to the fact that what we are actually saying is the experience of disconnection. Because you can never really be disconnected from all that is. You are a part of all that is. That can never change. You are what is. You can never be outside because there is no outside. You can never be really disconnected because everything is actually one thing, expressing itself and experiencing itself as a multitude of things within it. But every separate thing, every person, place, and thing, every separate idea, everything that appears to be separate only appears to be so. It is an illusion of separation that you use as a tool to experience physical reality. The idea called physical reality. But there is no physical reality outside of you. It is all, in that sense, a projection from you, through you. And thus then, as you go into this new age of awareness, you begin to awaken more and more every day in every way to the fact that there is no real separation between what you appear to experience around you and who you are within. And as you change yourself, you see what is around you change in the same way that as you look into a glass mirror, you see the reflection back of whatever is actually on your face, be it a frown or a smile. But remember, the reflection in the mirror will not change, cannot change, until you decide to either smile or frown first. But when you do, the reflection will have no choice but to match what is on your face. It does not have a mind of its own. It does not have a reality of its own. You give it life. You give it birth. You support it and perpetuate whatever the reflection is. It is up to you to decide who you will see in that mirror, what you will experience yourself to be. But not because. Do not change because you want to change the reflection. Smile, not because it's important to see the smile in the mirror. Smile because it feels good to do so, because that's what you choose to do, because that's who you choose to be. Don't wait for the mirror to reflect it back. Smile first, because that's who you are. Now, let us begin with this understanding that reality, your physical reality, is the product of what you believe, what you've been taught to believe most strongly is going to be true about that reality, about your experiences in it, in all situations and circumstances that you may attract or generate in your life. How you experience those situations and those circumstances is completely reliant on how you define your relationship to that situation, to that circumstance, to that person, to that issue. Please remember this first and foremost. And this is very important. I will repeat it if necessary, as many times as necessary, until this becomes innately understood in each and every one of you. One of the greatest gifts creation has given to all things within creation, and we know how this may sound at first, is life is meaningless. Life is meaningless? What do you mean by that? Well, I'll tell you. Thank you very much. What we mean is this. Nothing comes with built-in meaning automatically. all built-in meaning automatically. All situations, circumstances, things in life are neutral, devoid of any particular built-in meaning. They are neutral props, symbols. You give them the meaning, either automatically, unconsciously, or intentionally by choice. And the meaning you put, the meaning you assign to any given situation, circumstance, person, place, or thing, utterly and completely determines the effect you get from that situation, circumstance, person, place, or thing. They are devoid of meaning so that you are capable of being the creator of your reality and deciding and choosing what meaning to give those circumstances, and thus determining what effect you get from the circumstance, no matter how it looks. The same circumstance can give you a positive or a negative effect, a positive or a negative experience. If you learn to put positive meaning into a circumstance for you, if your relationship to that circumstance is defined by you as positive, you will only get a positive effect from it regardless of what anyone else's intention in that situation might be toward you. This is the third law of creation. What you put out is what you get back. Again, like the mirror, if you frown, you cannot see a smile in the reflection. If you smile, you cannot see a frown. If you learn that life is basically meaningless, so that it's up to you with your free will, your choice, your freedom to choose, so that you put the meaning into it that serves you best, then you will understand that being meaningless is the greatest gift life could give you, so that you can determine how you will experience life. With your capacity to be a co-creator with all that is, to define your reality in a way that makes it uniquely your own, so that you can experience reality in the way you prefer to, in a way that you believe is aligned with your truth, your true self. And in so doing, magically and miraculously and effortlessly find yourself in a life of harmony, creativity, love, synchronicity, and recognize at that moment then that that is the way life can be if you define it as such. And this brings us to the core issue at hand. Physical reality is the product, utterly, of your core belief, your core definition. What you have been taught to believe is true, is possible for you. What you have been taught to define your relationship to life as. Now, we understand, as we said before, that when you adopt the physical persona, you may, in some ways, unknowingly adopt certain kinds of ideas, certain kinds of definitions and concepts that will bring about a kind of fog of forgetfulness once you're in physical reality, and not allow you to remember that you chose that reality, number one. And number two, may allow you to harbor some of the definitions and beliefs that create your reality in an unconscious way, so that you may not even be in touch with the fact of how it is that the things that are going on in your life are occurring. But you see, this is the definition of a belief. A belief must be self-sustaining in order for you to actually have an experience in reality of that belief. And that's why many times it's very difficult to adopt a new belief, or to even know there is another belief to adopt, is because every belief, in some sense, is exclusive of every other belief, so that you can focus on the reality that belief is designed to generate, to the exclusion of any other interference from any other reality, any other perspective, or any other idea. However, knowing this is a belief unto itself as well. And when you finally get to the point of realization that there can be such a thing as a belief in other beliefs, and a belief in an ability to change from one belief to another, then you have discovered the key that unlocks you from any particular belief and allows you to experience beliefs in a conscious way and experience your reality and your life in an aware manner that allows you the flexibility and the freedom to choose what kind of reality you will experience based on the knowledge and the certainty that as you get in touch with what you believe that is creating your reality, you can easily get in touch with other beliefs and you can replace the belief you don't prefer with one that you do and thus generate a reality that is more in alignment with your preference. This is all simple physics. That's all it is. It's all energy in motion. It's all vibration. And whatever vibration you give off utterly determines the kind of experience you will get in physical reality, because there is no physical reality aside from what you believe it to be. That's what physical reality is. Even many of your own scientists, your quantum physicists, are now beginning to realize that there is no outside external physical reality that is different or apart from or separate from what it is you choose to observe about it. Paradoxical? Yes. But that's all right. When you're working with paradox, you're truly working with the core power of your being. That's what paradox tells you. When things seem totally opposite, mutually exclusive, and yet you have both of them at the same time creating a paradox, what that tells you is both of those apparently mutually opposite and exclusive things still must generate from somewhere within you, somewhere in the center. They both issue from the same place. And when you can see them both equally and experience the idea called paradox, then what that tells you is you're sitting squarely at the center of your being and capable of observing both sides and thus bringing both sides into absolute balance. So work with paradox. Paradox is your friend. Paradox lets you know you are where you need to be. You are finally realizing and becoming aware of the fact that you are creating the polarity, that you are creating the dichotomy, that you are in charge of that experience, that it's coming through you, from you. Belief. Getting in touch with belief. Getting in touch with definitions that then generate your reality is what it is all about, because that's the first component. Look at it this way. Look at this analogy. Building a house on your planet requires a design, a blueprint, to let you know what the house ought to look like. It requires builders to build the house. And it requires building materials. So, your belief systems, your definitions are like the blueprints. Your emotions are like the builders of the house. And your thoughts and behaviors are like the building materials. So if you have a blueprint, if you have a belief, if you have a definition that isn't quite drawn right, looks a little crooked, looks a little wonky, looks a little out of phase, out of step, you cannot expect the builders to then understand how to build the house properly, and you cannot necessarily expect them to use building materials that are of high quality if they're not getting an accurate blueprint of what it is they need to use to begin with. So if you are using belief systems that are out of alignment with your true self, then the emotions and the energy that comes to you that takes the belief and manifests it into physical reality, thoughts and behaviors, are going to only be able to take their cue from the original blueprint. And the quality of those building materials and the energy of those builders are only going to be capable of building a house that might lean to one side or fall down relatively quickly and come apart at the seams. When that happens, do what every builder does. Go back to the original blueprint and say, are the specs on the blueprint what they need to be?